Ladies and gentlemen, Hudson County View, live and uncut. I'm your host, where what you see is what you get, and what you don't is better yet, John Arhitis. And of course, we have a lot to talk about today, as we're still awaiting the results of the presidential election. Looks like it's got a great chance here for former Vice President Joe Biden, but it's too close to call. President Donald Trump very much in this, based on the Associated Press, the Electoral College. So, obviously we're going to talk about that a bit, but more importantly, we will talk about the races that have been called, which includes the Jersey City Ward D special election, their Board of Education, as well as the Bayonne Board of Education. But I don't think you'll be surprised with the results if you don't already know them. And if we have time, we're also going to talk a little bit about some new COVID-19 initiatives in Jersey City, as well as what happened at last night's 4-hour Hoboken City Council meeting, not too long by their standards. And most importantly, I am sitting next to right now the Hudson County Democratic Organization Chair, Amy DeGise, and we're going to be sitting down to talk about Election Day and a whole lot more as soon as we get back from this word from our sponsors.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net. Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunley Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Hudson County View, live and uncut, John Arhitis. And as I just mentioned, I am joined with Hudson County Democratic Organization Chair, Amy DeGise. Madam Chair, thanks for joining us on this Election Day coverage edition.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, first of all, let's talk a little bit. We just saw each other a few days ago, and, around that time, I know you were visiting all the municipalities in Hudson, and you were trying to get the vote out, and then, that evening and the next day, you were a little concerned with some of the tallies in Jersey City. So what do you think went wrong, and how do you think that compared to the final numbers that you're seeing in the subsequent days?
So we were worried that people were going to hang on to their ballots too late. And everyone was really concerned with how to track it. We saw that at the ballot box, people taking pictures, wanting to verify that they did everything correctly. But if you hand it in on the last day, your window to cure anything gets a lot smaller. So those were our kind of final words of a push for Jersey City to really get out there. A lot of people think we're solid Dem. How does my vote really count here? The motivation may have been a little bit low because you felt like your vote wasn't going to go towards that voter count like it will now in those counties in Pennsylvania and stuff, that they're going to look down to everybody. But we wanted to make sure we had a really amplified voice going in, because even in a national race, it translates down in Trenton, how Hudson County votes, how these municipalities vote, and how engaged our community is.
Now, of course, needless to tell you, it was primarily vote by mail, which is challenging, but it's not the first time. It was the same as the primary. But do you think maybe there should have been more efforts, whether it be from the HCDO, the local parties, or maybe even from the statewide party? Do you feel like maybe something was lost in translation and more could have been done?
So it was odd on Election Day that people still had questions or said, I never got my ballot. What do I do? And you thought, well, why didn't you call someone sooner? And any app that I had gone on leading up to the election, Instagram, Uber Eats, asked you, how are you voting? Do you have your voting plan? So it seemed odd that people still didn't have the right information. We were hopeful that to do some more early voting that was outside, maybe college campuses or big fields where people could bring their families and hit the machines again. But this was a whole new process for the Board of Elections, the clerk, my organization, and the community, that it was hard to come up with innovative ideas to just try them out, and easier to really stick with what the guidelines were and execute them really well. And I think they did. They had such an operation going on at the Board of Board of Elections. It looked like a warehouse and an assembly line of scanning them in and documenting them perfectly, putting them in the box a certain way, that way they can grab things within 30 seconds. You had the National Guard surrounding it, so that's what they had to, make sure was perfect for Election Day. And they had that into gear weeks before. As soon as the ballots went out, they were working on that, so I was happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, 150 workers, obviously unprecedented,
Oof.
but, I think it'll yield some positive results. Knock on wood, we'll see what happens.
Knock on wood.
But, so overall, you were pretty pleased with the local efforts, and do you think this will far exceed your expectations?
Absolutely. I think we exceeded our turnout from 2016, which is amazing. I think that we got people really engaged on the voting process. There are people who are going to prefer vote by mail going forward. And the time spent at those ballot boxes showed us, you had people walking up with their dry cleaning or holding their child's hand or their dog, dropping it off 10 seconds later, walking off with no issues. So I think they want it ingrained. They want it to become easier. They want to be able to go and tell their neighbors how easy it is. So we're very confident that we did what we had to do on our end, and we're happy with the results. Turnout, I know if you look on paper, it seems low. We get about 50%, a little bit less than 50% during a presidential election. And again, that goes back to, hey, we're blue, what does it matter? I'd rather focus on the local races. So we'd like to see that, kicked up just a bit, and also engage those voters who are solid presidential election voters into then campaigning for them. Virtual phone banking, writing postcards, reaching out to the organizations that may have more of a, skin in the game than we do, sending them to Pennsylvania, sending them to those battleground states, and bringing some of that Hudson County to them.
So just quickly on the local races, I mean, no real surprises in my mind. I mean, the Ward D Councilman won, pretty definitively. Education Matters swept again. Of course, you were part of that not too long ago.
Yeah.
And, Bayo, the Together We Can slate back by Jimmy Davis on the council, another sweep. So anything there or anything I didn't mention that surprised you at all?
Nothing surprised me. Some people thought that the Board of Eds were going to be a little bit closer, especially in Jersey City and Bayonne. But, being in education, knowing a lot of educators, parents, everyone seems really happy with what their local Board of Eds have done during this crazy situation. So they're confident that these members, especially the incumbents, will continue on working with unions, working with parent groups, working with the administration, and ensuring that our schools are safe to return to.
All right, very good. And in Jersey City, on that point, they're not going to return any sooner than February 2nd as of this moment in time.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that it's the safe thing to do. I think they're taking every precaution necessary. One thing I had said when this started was all of the regulations getting passed down from the state really highlight some of the problems that we have in urban schools. Their facilities are very out of date. There's not good air filtration systems or ways to get good water to students. They're tightly cramped. When they said to space the desks 6 feet apart, I'm thinking of my old classroom going, I couldn't even fit through my desks at some times. So I think the state has to acknowledge some of the problems that we have here that are not of the city's control because we can't control some of the facilities. But I think that was the right decision. Now, I technically work for the Hudson County District, the vocational. We went to a hybrid model. This week, our superintendent switched our students to all virtual out of an abundance of precaution, speaking with the right people, the Board of Health. And she made that decision saying, listen, I know that we're not experiencing major issues right now, but in anticipation of that happening, we're going to go all virtual with our students. So
on that note, let's take a quick break. Just got to get a word in from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
The Jersey City Medical Center. You know it for its award-winning, life-saving ambulance service. It's also your health hub, with health and wellness locations staffed with certified professionals all through Hudson County. The Jersey City Medical Center, here to help you with your healthy, here when you need us the most. The Jersey City Medical Center. Visit us on the net to learn more. Jersey City Medical Center, Robert Wood Johnson, Barnabas Health Facility. Let's be healthy together.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers the quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just one path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport, live like you want.
Hudson County View live and uncut. John Arhitis, and I'm still here with HCDO Chair Amy DeGise. So Madam Chair, let's talk a little bit about the presidential. Obviously, we still don't have a winner. Things, as I noted at the top of the program, looking positive for the former Vice President Joe Biden. But let's go back a second. So obviously, we're talking about vote by mail, and we've seen the president and other Republican leaders say that it's rigged. This was not a fair election. Ballots should be stopped counting, so on and so forth. You're obviously aware. What do you think of this rhetoric that's going around here?
It's disgusting, and he knows the process and the people around him know the process. But what's important now is his language. And he's not even saying rigged, he's using the word steal, like they're going to steal, insinuating a crime, bringing up that law enforcement topic that so many Americans were, really kind of battling with themselves on. And that's a really harsh word to use. He should be keeping his mouth shut, let his lawyer speak on his behalf, and just kind of monitor the process so you're comfortable with it. We knew that he was going to say this. We knew that most of the blue states were voting by mail, that they were going to be able to count afterwards. They didn't have the privilege that we did to start scanning in the ballots 10 days before, which is why it's taking some time, and they're taking every precaution necessary. No one wants to mess this up. No one wants to be the person who ruins it for everyone and ruins, the voting process and lies about ballots. That's not what's really happening. And I think if people took a look at, the National Guard in almost every state guarding these ballots, these ballot boxes, and the entire process, every precaution was taken necessary under his guidance. He's the leader of the country. So these are, the rules that he could have amended a lot earlier and had not. And so for him to come out now and say, I want you to recount, where I'm doing well, and I want to make sure that that stretches, but stop counting, stop counting in the places that I'm doing well, and recount in the places that I'm not doing so well. It's really hypocritical, and the language is going to start stirring some of his followers that, want to take radical action by using that word steal instead of rig. So I don't like it. I hope that he trusts in the process. Count every last vote. We don't know how they voted, so they could be votes for Trump as well. I feel better every day that our pathway to the White House is clearer. I wish it was wider. Looking at some of the totals, I still cannot wrap my head around how people felt their lives have improved, but I'm feeling better.
Right. So, when we spoke the other day, you said you were feeling confident, didn't want to get ahead of yourself. It looks like the finish line is in sight, but, it's not over till it's over.
Yeah.
So with that, so a lot of people are questioning, like, well, hey, for example, let's say Arizona, at like 9 o'clock, 9:30, it looked like Trump had it, and then it flipped. And, the Republicans are saying, well, how do you get like 100,000 or 150,000 votes to come in all at once? It's impossible, et cetera. Again, your thoughts on that sort of messaging here?
It's not impossible. Those were votes that were sent in early that couldn't have been scanned until the polls were closed. New Jersey had the privilege to open our ballots up starting 10 days before the election. That's when people, if you were tracking it, went from received to accepted, or if you had to cure it at that time. And there's also space for that. They may have opened a ballot up on election night and the signature was incorrect. There was an inaccuracy in the date, but it's curable, and the voter is allowed to not revote, but amend their ballot to be correct and to make it comfortable for their Board of Elections, wherever they are, to feel comfortable that that was a correct ballot. So we have to give those people time. And this is stuff that we've done in every election. We've never had a presidential election during a pandemic where people had to vote by mail. So a lot of these are really exasperated. But they're doing the right thing. And again, we knew he was going to be a little bit ahead or close in the popular vote. and we knew that a lot of the mail-ins would be from more Democratic states and counties. That, we all had major pushes throughout the nation. So those numbers are now siding with Biden, and he's calling foul. If those numbers were going the opposite way, if the Republican Party had spent that much time trying to get out the vote by mail instead of battling going to the polling place and not going to the polling place, then they would have had more skin in the game now too.
Right. Okay. So a lot of people now are also discussing the crossroads of the Democratic Party, right? Obviously, Joe Biden's an old school politician, has been in office for many years. Of course, you have the progressive wing, and a lot of people think that he wasn't the right person at this time, win or lose. I mean, where do you sit on his candidacy, again, regardless of what the outcome is going to be when it's all said and done?
Yeah, and there's so much truth to that, especially on election, the day after the election, reading the articles. People were either blaming the Biden agenda for being too left for some of those middle states, and people were blaming it for not being left enough. So there is sort of a reckoning that the Democratic Party has to come to, and just kind of build the platform that the majority of Democrats are happy with, because it's going to affect us going forward. But my first candidate was Cory Booker. I thought he would have made a great president. I don't even know if I would say that Biden was my second choice in Canada. I was a big fan of Elizabeth Warren as well. And I think a lot of voters voted to get Trump out of office rather than to put Biden in office. But I think he'll be an amazing president. I think that he'll represent and all of America and be inclusive. But more importantly, I think he's going to build a cabinet of experts, knowing that he just wants to serve one term. Who are the young, up-and-coming people? Who are the outside-the-box thinkers that he could stack in his cabinet in important positions to then take the Democratic Party forward? And I hope he's cognizant of that. I think putting Kamala Harris as his vice president was a good beginning to that. So hopefully we can build the party together and come under leadership that we all trust in and feel motivated to vote for. I don't think you have to agree with a candidate or their platform and policies 100%, but I think you have to be motivated that they'll build some consensus and common ground that gets you a certain percentage of what you're looking for, and hopefully that happens. We're struggling with it as an organization, trying to be welcoming to more of the left wing of the party that see us as sometimes like an enemy. I'm a friend, man. Like I need the help. The community needs the help. We need your work, your mind, your energy. So I think we have to get over ourselves in having to agree with everything 100% and just agree that we want the best for our community.
Very good. Madam Chair, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. We're going to take another break. I'll be right back.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Most women who give birth recover without problems, but any woman can have complications after the birth of a baby. Learn the post-birth warning signs such as fever, headache, chest pain, shortness of breath, increased bleeding, or thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else. Knowing these can save your life or the life of someone that you love. Trust your instincts. If you feel something is wrong, call and get evaluated by your healthcare provider. If your symptoms get worse or you do not hear back from your physician, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Pan & Pinto Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces that address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment. Adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panandpintoproperties.com. Pan & Pinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View, live at Uncut, John Arhitis. So like I said, I did have a few municipal things that I wanted to touch on. And so the one being is from the Hoboken City Council last night. There was a measure regarding the 77 Jackson Street payment in lieu of taxes revenue. As you've seen for the past few weeks, probably over a month now, there's been a fight between the Board of Education and the three charter schools. That's Elysian, Ola, and Hoboken Charter School. And so those four entities all believe that they're entitled to the pilot, which is the revenue from that pilot's about $243,000. And the Board of Education believes, based on what the council approved back in 2016, that they deserve 100% of it. Obviously, the charter schools say that they deserve a cut as well. At the October 21st council meeting, the city council took a vote on this, as I've told you previously. And well, they had it on the agenda, I should say. They didn't end up taking a vote on it. The proposal by 4th Ward Councilman Ruben Ramos was that it would be about an 80-20 split between the BOE and the charter schools. There was a 4-hour public comment, and it was a lot of back and forth between, who deserved it more, what the original pilot said, where the revenue was coming from, what the State Department of Education says. And we've heard a lot of that rhetoric from both sides since then. At the end of the day, though, there was no vote. The resolution was pulled. So with that in mind, that vote came up again last night, but with a little twist. This time, it was 5th Ward Councilman Phil Cohen and Councilwoman at-large Emily Jabbour that introduced this measure. And it was different in that they were proposing that the pilot revenue, again, about $243,000, went directly to the Hoboken Board of Education with nothing going to the charter. Their argument being that the Board of Ed is already subsidizing the charter through taxes and that they didn't deserve any additional funding, and any additional funding could be negotiated through the state DOE. Now, what made this interesting, on top of what I already just told you, is that a letter was sent to the City Council and the Mayor just the day before, and that was from Buck Carter and English partner Guilherme Artias, and he actually is a former Associate Counsel for Governor Phil Murphy. And let me just read a short excerpt from that letter. He said, "There have been discussions about excluding the charter schools from the approximate $243,000 that was appropriated under the 2020 Hoboken municipal budget for the Hoboken School District. Indeed, we understand that the enclosed ordinance is slated to be presented at the November 4, 2020 Hoboken City Council meeting. We strongly urge the Council to refrain from hastily passing this ordinance, which would ultimately exclude the charter schools from the pilot payments appropriated under the 2020 municipal budget. The ordinance would fly in the face of the resolution and would ultimately reduce per pupil funding, thus hurting every child that attends a public charter school in Hoboken." So with that in mind, we heard from Council President Jen Giattino early on in the meeting, probably in the first 10 minutes, and she said, based on this, it looks like there's a threat of legal action. We shouldn't be taking a vote tonight. Cohen, again, who was one of the sponsors, said that I think this deserves a lengthy and robust discussion. That didn't happen. The council voted to table. It was a vote of 5-4. Of course, Cohen, Jabbour voted no, and they were joined by Councilman Jim Doyle and Mike Russo. So, we heard from a few parents who called in and said that this is clear as day. This is very obvious. The way that the state laws and regulations are written, the pilot revenue goes to the public schools, period, end of story. Obviously, not everybody sees it that way. Jen Giattino, again, the council president, 2nd Ward Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher, and others, Ruben Ramos, also talked about how they've been working with the State Department of Education to try to get a fair ruling on this that benefits all 4 parties as opposed to just one. The Board of Education continues to urge the council to, quote unquote, do the right thing and approve this the way it was written last night. But now it looks like it'll be another 2 weeks before we get any sort of resolution in front of the City Council. So obviously we're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to take one more commercial break. We'll be right back.
You know those times when you need to see the doctor, but you just can't get to the doctor? So where do you go? Go to the App Store, download the Telemed app from RWJ Barnabas Health, and you see the doctor right away. From any mobile device, whenever you want, wherever you are.
Quality care, no appointment necessary. The doctor is online when you download the Telemed app.
Don't you feel better already?
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Stevens Jersey City Ford, located right off of NJ 440 North. Across the Hudson Mall is your one-stop for all your automotive needs. Check out Ford's latest models like the 2020 Ford Fusion with its stylish looks and hybrid options, or the unparalleled high-performance 2020 Ford Mustang. The 2020 Ford F-150 Raptor is ready for those rugged off-road terrains with trail control. Need a mid-sized truck for your towing and hauling? The 2020 Ford Ranger will deliver. The 2020 Ford Escape is a luxury SUV that was made for comfort and adventure on the go. Returning is Ford's legendary Bronco, which takes you back to the true meaning of off-roading. They are now available for pre-order in our showroom or on our website. Let us help you find your next vehicle. Stevens Jersey City Ford, 201-432-7272.
Hudson County View, live and uncut, John R. Highness. So before we get into the Jersey City matters I wanted to address, I did also want to make a notation that at last night's Hoboken City Council meeting, they also voted on the house party fine, and that was actually something where now the Hoboken Police Department, if there's probable cause, if they're investigating another incident, what they can do is they can actually fine you anywhere between $250 to $1,000 if you have more than 25 people inside your home. So obviously that's something to keep in mind as the winter weather is upon us, and of course the weekend is upon us. So with that, let's get into Jersey City. And one actually election-related matter that I didn't mention yet, and I didn't discuss with Amy DeGise, is that the local arts and culture referendum passed in Jersey City. So I just wanted to take just a quick second to talk about that. And this is something that at one point looked like it was going to be pulled from the ballot due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Eventually, the mayor decided against that and thought that it would be in the best interest of the residents to leave it on. And apparently his instincts were correct because it passed nearly 2-1. Based on the preliminary tallies, it was 36,595 affirmative votes, or 63.62% of the total vote. And that was preliminary tallies from the county clerk's office. Mayor Fulop told me on election night that we worked on that for 2.5 years with the arts community, and we're the first in the state to have a trust fund dedicated to supporting nonprofits and the arts community and create a class that really drives the local economy. So, like I said, just one more thing that I think is very relevant from election night. And of course, you guys are all well aware that the statewide ballot initiative legalizing marijuana passed, but as the New Jersey Attorney General Gubir Grewal said, that is probably something that is not going to really take effect, that's really going to hit stores until probably the end of 2021, maybe even 2022. So this has still got a ways to go. This is just the first step in a long process. With that, just really more of a community/COVID story. There's a new campaign out of Jersey City simply called Mask Up JC. And what they're doing is they're actually sending 120,000 face masks to residents throughout the city as part of a public health initiative as COVID numbers are on the rise statewide, and of course Jersey City no exception. So we heard from Mayor Fulop this morning, and he said in a statement, absent a vaccine, wearing a mask is one of the few proven effective ways we could dramatically decrease transmission, and we want to further our efforts to support residents and encourage everyone to remain diligent as we get through this together. So specifically what they're going to do is they're going to send 5 city-branded 3-ply masks sent via mail carrier to all 120,000 households throughout the city, and they're also going to be distributing 2,000 stickers to businesses that read "Mask Up to Enter." And on top of that, business owners could put the stickers on their storefront, which is fairly obvious, and all city employees will receive cloth masks in addition to the personal protective equipment that has been distributed throughout this pandemic. So getting down to some of the data that's coming out of Jersey City. On August 13th, the city reported 13 new confirmed cases of the coronavirus, the highest total in about a month, according to the city's COVID-19 dashboard. So about 6 weeks later, September 29th, city reported 23 new cases. That was the highest single-day total since July, with the average 7-day cases still at just 10, so not a cause for concern by most people's standards. Now, as of just Tuesday, though, November 4th, 60 people tested positive for the virus, so the 7-day average is more than quadrupled, sitting at 43. Now, again, that may not exactly in and of itself be a cause for concern, but I think it does raise the issue to, be diligent, and that certainly is why the mayor and other city officials are talking about wearing a mask and also avoiding indoor gatherings, as we've heard a lot from in Hoboken, but and we've heard from Governor Phil Murphy and really everyone in between. And we heard a little from the City Health and Human Services Director, Stacey Flanagan, and she says, our data shows that the major contributor to the current moderate increase in cases is in-home family gatherings, which further supports our efforts to ensure everyone remains compliant. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a week. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in 7 days.